All right, welcome to edition number one of the new Texas Strangers. I got a new sidekick partner sitting right next to me. Go ahead and introduce yourself right now.
I'm Kirk Jones.
Kirk Jones, welcome to the program. What we got coming up tonight on the Texas Strangers? College football, A&M, number 4.
Crazy stuff.
We couldn't believe that was going to happen. Later on, we'll get into the Texas Rangers and what they're going to do in the offseason. NFL football midseason report. Gavin Mitchell, former Major League Baseball umpire, will join us. And then I'm going to go off on Baylor football. Then we'll talk about Cam Newton. Why is he calling the commissioner?
Whining.
Guess what? The Texas Strangers start next.
Welcome to the Texas Strangers. Now here's your hosts, Kirk Jones and David Carson.
Well, once again, Brad doesn't really know how to do it again. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah, David Carson and Kirk Jones.
Yeah. Remember, I'm the originator of this show.
This is the founder.
I was trying to show respect by putting...
This is the founder.
Yeah. The founder.
By putting you last, I was trying to show respect.
Pop down the music. There we go. Once again, Brad Watkins, Bearhead Watkins, bringing it in hard right there. How you doing, Brad?
Outstanding. How are you guys doing?
Okay, we're going to have this conversation right off the bat.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
The originator of the show. Who's the originator of the show?
You are.
You are.
But I was trying to show respect by putting you last.
It's always first.
Oh, well.
Always first. I think we've had this conversation 2 or 3 times.
I don't think so. I don't remember.
I know we have.
Anyways, we digress.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and digress. Every once in a while, you just have to put your kids in place.
Brad's your kid? Is he your adopted father? Brad?
We like Brad. And you know what? The Texas Rangers does have a lot of changes coming its way. And pretty soon, Brad will not be sitting on the other side of that board. Don't you have a cousin or something that knows how to mix up some music? And
I do. He just has a very limited availability, but okay. I'm working him in. But he's really good at mixing audio and he's he sees sports the way I see them. So it's kind of good to have.
So we won't call on him. So
I mean you can.
Well, no, we won't. If he's the same opinion as you, why should we do that?
Well, it may not the exact same, but you know.
I mean, we already have you.
Similar.
We already have you.
I know, but he's the
original Brad,
big tall.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
That's right, big brain on Brad. All right, so yesterday, the college football rankings came out.
Yes,
the first one. Now, I've never really known I don't know how I feel about this. How they do the new rankings.
Yeah,
I don't know how I really feel about them. Where you have all these higher ups and their CEOs.
It's a committee.
The committee
that's involved in some way or another with college football.
Right. And I buy it more than I buy a computer telling me, hey, these are the best teams in football.
Right.
So, but Texas A&M out of nowhere. Going into it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Alabama, it's gonna be Clemson, it's gonna be Michigan, it's gonna be Washington. No exact order. It could have been
Clemson.
I don't care who's 2, 3, 4. I don't care. But that's who I thought the top 4 teams were. And then I'm sitting here watching TV, and Texas A&M pops up. I'm on the
yeah.
Where did that come from?
Pump the brakes. Like what?
So, but then again, I started looking at it, and it's kind of justified.
I agree. I know there's hate for A&M. Even in Texas, where we're broadcasting right now, there's hate for A&M. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way they are down there in College Station, and they get a little hate, you know. But if you really look at it, A&M has had a tough schedule. They've played great SEC teams.
Oh, the SEC West is the toughest conference in the U.S.
And that has to take into account to that.
Well, okay, let me back that one up. The Big Ten's gotten really.
They're the best. Big Ten's the best.
Big Ten and SEC. Those two conferences are really
they're the best.
Are the best. So Let me back up on that little mess up right there. Washington.
Yeah, they got, and the real you were talking about, you don't know how to, when you go into this, you really don't know how to approach this or how you feel. In the grand scheme of things, this week's rankings doesn't really matter. I mean,
no, it doesn't. It's
just talking points. It's just kind of get you ramped up for the next 6 weeks of college football.
Okay.
But it's great to talk about. I love it.
Well, we have some committee audio, and Brad's getting ready. You ready to run that right now, Brad? Okay, let's go ahead and roll clip number 1.
The committee, in our mind, believes that Texas A&M has played a stronger schedule at this point in time of the season over Washington. Texas A&M's got 4 wins against teams that are better records than 500, compared to Washington only having 2 wins against teams that have 500 or better records.
So as the committee evaluates teams at this point in the season, I know conference championships is an important piece of the puzzle, an important criterion, but that's not something that's evaluated just because you're leading a conference right now. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. We have very robust discussions and in-depth conversations about each of these teams. And as you know, the margins are razor thin, especially when you look at the 2 that we just compared in Texas A&M at number 4 and Washington at number 5. And we do a deeper dive. That's our focus, our purpose as a committee, is to go deeper into these teams, to look at strength of schedules, to look at quality wins, where those games were played, etc. So conference champions, very important, but as you know, we won't know that for a number of weeks.
Okay, that was courtesy of ESPN, I think ESPN Game Day. And what was their college show?
It's their college football program.
It was the college football program, revealing of the rankings, whatever ESPN.
All right, well, we got it from ESPN, so we just want to go ahead and give courtesy and let them know, hey, we're using your stuff.
Right.
All right, so this is what I think what's going on with Washington. They really did. They play Portland State. They played Portland State. They also played Rutgers.
Played Idaho.
And Idaho. So once again, they kind of
very low level teams.
Very low level. They did the Baylor thing.
Right.
Now, granted, they were expecting Oregon and Stanford to be a little more.
Very good point.
But they beat one 70-7. The other one was 70-21 or something like that.
They beat Oregon 70-21.
Okay.
They beat Stanford 44-6 without a touchdown. That's pretty. I mean, Stanford was ranked 7th at the time.
Right. And going into that game, I thought it was going to be, this is going to stand out of who's going to represent the Pac-12.
Right. I agree. Yeah, and I thought Stanford was going to be better. I mean, there was so much hype around Stanford for Christian McCaffrey.
At the time, Stanford was playing great ball.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at they play tonight against Cal on ESPN at 9:30 Central Time. That will be a good game to watch because Cal is solid. They beat Texas. Remember, they beat Texas.
Right.
Now Texas is.
Been up and down. Texas on a fluky play. Let's put it that way.
You're hitting a little close to home right now, okay?
Yeah.
Because you got two Longhorn fans in here. So
right. But they did beat Texas, and this could be a pretty good. This could be a pretty good game for Washington into next week's rankings.
Right.
Okay, you beat Cal. They're a solid team. They're above 500. Another thing that Kirby Holcutt was talking about was how many teams you beat above 500.
Right.
A&M beat, I think, 5, and Washington only beat 2.
Right.
So that's another point that you can bring in there. They've only beat 2 guys above 500. Stanford's not above 500. Oregon's not above 500. Those teams that you thought that were going to be good are not above 500.
Right. Your traditional what you expect.
Exactly.
And also you have USC coming up on their schedule.
That's going to be a good game too. That's next week.
That's next week.
They got Washington State, which is ranked as the last game on their schedule.
25. They're ranked 25 in the nation right now.
That's at Washington State, I believe.
Right, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you guys never lived in Washington like I have, but the Apple Cup,
it's a big deal.
It's a big game, especially up there in Washington. It's fun to go to. The time I went to that game, I went as a Huskies fan.
Yeah,
because I was living in Seattle, and I liked the purple over the red.
Yeah, the purple and gold looks good.
Right. Okay. This goes way back. This is when they had the purple helmets before they went back to the gold helmets.
Right.
So I'm just kind of showing
your age a little bit.
Showing my age just a little bit right there. So this was like 95, 96 when this was going on. But
I was like 3.
Okay. Okay.
Old man over here.
But This is what I remember when I went to the Apple Cup. It was a Washington State fan. He wore a shirt that said Ted Bundy was a Husky.
Ted Bundy was a Husky.
Right.
I know who Ted Bundy is. He was the killer that killed all those women.
Right. I thought Ted Bundy was Married with Children.
No.
What? That was the character name, Married with Children.
Is that it?
Yes.
No. Ted Bundy was you were right.
He's the killer?
The serial killer.
Right.
Al Bundy. Excuse me.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Okay, there's another drop for Brad.
Yes, I know. It's the killer that killed all those. He was all those really good-looking women.
He was also the, your Pedro Martinez quote. It was the one, Silence of the Lambs, the Buffalo Bill. That character was based off
Ted Bundy.
So
okay.
But anyway,
back to the original.
We're talking about college football, and hey, that's what we do here on the Texas Strangers. Sometimes we'll take a subject and we'll just go ahead and turn it just a little bit to a little everyday conversation.
Give our little spin on it.
Exactly. So, once again, this is just a talking point. The way we're looking at it, it's just a talking point. It's something to set our
Don't, if you're Washington, don't be upset by this, because this is nothing. This means absolutely nothing. Because if you win out and you win the Pac-12, even with one loss, I still think they could be in it. Because if they win the Pac-12 and A&M doesn't, let's say A&M wins out.
I don't. If they lose a game, I think Washington's out.
You think so?
Even if they win the conference championship.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It really is, because if Washington State, they play the last game, ends up being pretty good, let's say they win out too and they're in the top 10 or even the top 15.
Yeah.
Even the top 15, and they win that one, that's a significant game. Now, that could be the only one of two significant games that Washington's played, and A&M's played 3 or 4 or 5, and I don't know.
And there is a lot of what-ifs out there, because
that's all this is. That's all these rankings are.
Michigan still has to play Ohio State.
Right.
Alabama still has to play Auburn.
Right.
You never know how that game's
LSU this weekend. So at LSU, though. I mean.
LSU.
Fournette's healthy.
I'm not buying it. They're on a hot streak.
They're always hyped up so much, and it's always a letdown for them. They have an interim coach. Ed Orgeron is not their head coach from the beginning. I think that plays a big part in how well you do. Is if you don't have your head coach from beginning to end, expectations go down. For me, at least, I expect you maybe go 500 or a couple games above 500.
I always put LSU and Oregon in the same driver's seat.
Yeah.
During the regular season, when they're doing good, they look really good. But once
when they look bad, they look really bad.
But once that playoff starts, Oregon went against Florida State. They looked great. Then they came here to play Ohio State in the national championship game. They came out like duds. They played Auburn in that national title game. They looked like duds.
Yeah.
I don't buy into the Oregon hype anymore. I bought into it. I drank the Kool-Aid. I sipped on it for a while. I'm never going back to that flavor. Oregon's out, and that's how the same thing. That's the same way I feel about LSU. So
okay, I've got a quick question before we move on to anything else. Louisville. Now Louisville, they're sitting at number 7 and at 7-1. Ohio State's ahead of them. They've also got one loss against Penn State.
Okay.
I kind of had a problem with that. I thought Ohio State should have been lower than Louisville because Louisville lost to Clemson.
That's like not to say it's a quality loss, but it's not as bad as losing to unranked Penn State.
Exactly. So. That's what I was trying to get at was Clemson is number 2. Penn State they had at number 12, which is way overranked in my opinion. They should be way lower than that.
Well, see, right now they're buying all because of what they did to Ohio State.
Right, and Ohio the committee loves Ohio State.
The methodology of how they do it. They were saying it's not like the AP system. They're ranking on the higher. They believe the higher teams will beat the lower ranked teams. Is basically how they ranked them.
Okay.
So
yeah, and that's I think
based on what they believe.
Right, and I think that Washington's getting punished because at the beginning of the season, A&M led off with UCLA, who we thought UCLA was going to be a good school, a good team.
Most overrated program in the nation.
Which Rosen just got hurt and he's out for the rest of the season.
Well, 2 years ago, you guys Brad will probably know the kid that was recruited from Plano or something like that. He went to UCLA. I don't remember what his name was. We can probably look him up later on, but it doesn't matter. He went to UCLA, and they were like the number 1 recruited class. They got They got Snoop Dogg's kid.
Oh,
yes.
Cordell Patterson, not Cordell.